complaint we are filing. And these documents shed substantial light on the degree of major party collusion concerning the presidential debates. Each memorandum begins with the following type of statement. Quote, this memorandum of understanding constitutes the agreement between the Dole-Kemp 1996 and Clinton-Gore 1996 general committees regarding the rules that will govern any presidential and vice presidential debates in 1996, end quote. Each memorandum of understanding includes the following absolute provision. Quote, the debates will be sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, provided that the Commission agrees to all provisions of this agreement, end quote. The memoranda of understanding address virtually every imaginable issue concerning the presidential debates, including format, schedule, staging, podiums, audience placement, selection of moderators and panelists, dressing rooms, opening and closing statements, even coin tosses. The Commission on Presidential Debates obediently executes secret instructions from the Republican and Democratic nominees in the form of memoranda of understanding. And in the process, it unequivocally violates IRS regulations. The Commission on Presidential Debates participates and intervenes directly and indirectly on behalf of the Republican and Democratic candidates by allowing them to exclude whatever third-party independent candidates they want to exclude, irrespective of popular support for those candidates. In 1996, vast majority of voters wanted to see Ross Perot and Pat Choate included in the 1996 presidential debates. And in 2000, most voters wanted to see Ralph Nader and Pat Buchanan included in the presidential debates. But they were, of course, excluded because the major party candidates didn't want them in the debates. The Commission on Presidential Debates participates and intervenes directly and indirectly on behalf of the Republican and Democratic candidates by allowing them to manipulate debate formats. Through the Memorandum of Understanding, the major party candidates employ stilted and boring formats that eliminate spontaneity and just allow the candidates to recite a bunch of memorized sound bites. The candidates handpick moderators and panelists. They ban follow-up questions. They limit their own response times to 90 seconds. They even prohibit themselves from talking to each other, which is, of course, not a real debate. Walter Cronkite called the debates an unconscionable fraud. The Commission on Presidential Debates participates, intervenes directly and indirectly on behalf of the Republican and Democratic candidates by allowing them to avoid many contentious issues. In 2000, for example, Bush and Gore were able to avoid discussions of the criticisms of free trade and globalization because Ralph Nader and Pat Buchanan, both vociferous critics of the free trade agenda, were excluded, and by picking Jim Lehrer to ask every single question. And most importantly, the Commission on Presidential Debates intervenes and participates directly and indirectly on behalf of the Republican and Democratic candidates by shielding them from public criticism. The major party candidates can sponsor their own debates if they want. They could do it in their living rooms. They could employ whatever boring format they want. They could exclude any candidate they want, and they could avoid discussing whatever issue they wanted to avoid. But if they were to do so, they would be held accountable for them. If a popular third-party challenger was excluded, it would be the fault of the Republican and Democratic candidates. If an important issue was avoided, or if the format was really boring, it would be the fault of the Democratic and Republican candidates. And they might pay a price on Election Day. But that is not what happens under the current sponsorship regime. Instead, the Commission on Presidential Debates is blamed for the debate's defects. In other words, the Commission on Presidential Debates, by posing as a nonpartisan sponsor, ends up shielding the candidates from public accountability for the very manipulation they conduct behind closed doors. To top it all off, these debates, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, are primarily financed by multinational corporations. The Commission on Presidential Debates uses its 501c3 tax-exempt status to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars in corporate contributions. Anheuser-Busch, for example, contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Commission in 1996 and 2000, which is precisely why debates in 1996 and 2000 were held in St. Louis, the headquarters of Anheuser-Busch. The events leading up to 1996 are a perfect example, the 1996 presidential debates, are a perfect example of just how the Commission on Presidential Debates undermines voter education. And that year, Reform Party candidate Ross Perot and his running mate Dr. Pat Choate had received $29 million in public financing, and 76% of the American people wanted to see them in the presidential debates. But Bob Dole and Bill Clinton hatched a secret deal to keep them out. Dole desperately wanted Perot out of the presidential debates because he thought that Perot would take more votes away from him. And Clinton used Perot as a bargaining chip. He said, I'll exclude Perot on the condition that you let me dictate the nature of the debates. Well, what did Clinton do with that power? He was winning by 26 points in the polls. He wanted the smallest possible audience. So he canceled one debate, and he scheduled the remaining two debates opposite the baseball playoffs. Also, for those two debates, he abolished follow-up questions and limited the candidates' response times to about 90 seconds. So, obviously, predictably, The 1996 presidential debates attracted the smallest audience in debate history. And for the first time since 1952, I believe, voter turnout dipped below 50%. So the Commission on Presidential Debates clearly undermines voter education. In fact, tens of millions of voters are no longer watching the presidential debates anymore. 25 million fewer viewers watched the 2000 presidential debates than watched the 1992 presidential debates. In 1980, 60% of every American household was tuned into the presidential debates. In 2000, it was just 30%. This destruction of the most valuable voter education forum is unacceptable. And that is why 17 national civic leaders have come together from the left, center, and right of the political spectrum to form something called a Citizens Debate Commission. The Citizens Debate Commission includes people like Paul Weyrich, Shelley Pingree of Common Cause, Alan Keyes, Tom Garrity of the Brennan Center for Justice, Bay Buchanan, Randall Robinson, Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council, Jamu Green of Rock the Vote, Jeff Milchin of Reclaim Democracy, Dan Stein of the Federation for American Immigration Reform, and other civic leaders committed to maximizing voter education. Over 55 civic groups currently serve on the advisory board of the Citizens Debate Commission. The Citizens Debate Commission aspires to host presidential debates that serve the American people first, not political parties. It intends on operating with full transparency, on including candidates, third party, independent, or major party that the American people want to see, on featuring innovative and engaging formats, on addressing broad variety of issues, and of course, in resisting the participating candidates' anti-democratic demands. The Citizens Debate Commission intends on restoring voter education and transparency to the presidential debates. To help our campaign to replace the Commission on Presidential Debates with the Citizens Debate Commission, please visit our website, opendebates.org. Thank you. And now Meredith Mcgehee of the Alliance for Better Campaigns will give a presentation on voter education and debate formats.